How's it going, everyone? And welcome to my channel. We do educational videos on this channel and focus on great theories of everything, all-encompassing theories, cosmologies, and grand unified theories, tour de forces, things that people have been working on their whole life, and probably did put in a lot of dedication, but didn't get the acknowledgement that they were searching for, or just trying to lay down the truth regardless of whether anybody's going to read it or not in this generation. And today is our 95th day of doing the book called Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha by Dr. Daniel Ingram. And Ingram focuses not on Buddhism per se, but on the core teachings, in particular meditation, technique and practice, and orientation. And so he makes a distinction between concentration meditation and insight meditation. Concentration meditation on an object, like your breath, or a red ball, or a candle flame. And as you get better and better at that, you go into 8 different states of consciousness called jhanas. 4 are formless, 4 are formed, and then 4 are formless. And they have various healing properties and blissful properties. And then there is insight meditation, which is opening up your attention or to your 5 senses and also your mental sensations, and investigating those sensations for the 3 characteristics of impermanence, dissatisfactoriness, and no self. And by identifying those 3 characteristics, you cycle through the stages of insight, enlightening yourself by degrees. And Ingram talked about his experience of going through that and presented his maps of the stages and states of consciousness there. And he's also, in these later chapters, is discussing the psychic powers. And we are about to start chapter 65, which is called How to Cultivate the Powers. Now, this is after many, many pages of warnings about how you can get into trouble with the powers. So you might want to look at the previous couple videos to figure out whether you really want to get into this or not. Now, so here's the text. Now that I have laid out even more various obligatory and useful warnings and disclaimers, here's how to achieve the powers. If we want to cultivate the powers and greatly increase the chances of them occurring with some degree of reliability and repeatability, we must generally attain very hard jhanic states with the specific intention to attain these experiences, although they can and often do arise spontaneously. The Visuddhimagga in chapters 4, 5, 12, and 13, and the Vimuddhamagga in chapter 8, section 1, and in chapter 11, spell out in great depth and detail how to attain seeds, powers. While their instructions are so straightforward that you may miss their profundity, just follow them as stated and see what happens. You can also check out Bhante Gunaratana's excellent work, The Path of Serenity and Insight. Simply follow the directions and explore, as these instructions are as accurate as they come. While magical or mythical thinking is sometimes very unhelpful on the spiritual path, we must admit that it is the only kind of thinking that can make much sense of these sorts of experiences. However, know when and how to turn it on or off. If you are doing Jungian psychotherapy, shamanic path working, working up the tree of life, or through the tarot, or any similar work, think as magically and as mythically as you wish. It might be very helpful. If you are trying to do most other things, don't. Still, the more you get your concentration strong and play with the powers, the less strange the paradigms and stories of the old texts become. While Theravada Buddhism clearly states how to obtain the siddhis, it does not say much that is explicit, well-organized, or practical about how to use them, or about their benefits and dangers. Tantra and other traditions, such as some of the pre-Buddhist shamanic traditions, do a much better job of dealing with these. So I am trying to bring some of that same level of explicit advice to this end-of-the-world meditation. We might also check out the later writings of Carlos Castaneda when he was not so fascinated with hallucinogens, such as The Art of Dreaming, or go to an ashram or monastery that focuses on the magical aspects of spiritual training, such as Pao Aik Sayadaw's tradition, or check out traditions such as ceremonial magic Wicca Thelema, the Golden Dawn, and the Astrum Argentum. As you probably already noticed, I use magic with a K due to being personally influenced by these and related traditions, as they advocate making a distinction between show magic, illusions based on mechanical mechanisms, props, distraction of attention, and sleight of hand, and the territory of the powers, aka magic with a K. Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic is a classic on the subject, as are the works of Aleister Crowley. Opinions on Crowley vary widely, but buried in the frustrating works of that complex person is gold that is hard to find elsewhere. Despite all of Crowley's obvious quirks, personality disorders, and serious failings, I have a deep appreciation for many aspects of his work and the depths of his dedication to making meditation and magic accessible. You might check out Magic Without Tears for the better end of his works. Still, aspects of that tradition can sometimes lack a solid grounding in ethics and compassion. But in general, these Satanists do tell the truth, because that allows them to shuck off the karma of doing bad things, because they're telling you what they're doing. They tell you exactly what they're doing, and so it's on you then if you have problems because of it. So some of Crowley's works are really worth checking out, along with many other evil people. Back to the practice, I really like Kasana practices for getting into hard jhanas, as they give you such nice, immediate, basically foolproof feedback on exactly how you are doing. Start by choosing an external object, such as a colored disc, a candle flame, or something similarly neutral. If you are training in a tradition that advocates specific, symbolic, positive images, use one of those as is appropriate to the instructions of your lineage. Once you close your eyes and focus on the after image, what happens with that image will be directly related to your strength of concentration. When your concentration is strong, the images are clear and bright and take over your world. And when it is weak, well, that doesn't happen in the same way. As mentioned a bit later, the fire kasana was the method I used initially to get into the territory where the powers were very easily available. I strongly recommend that practice for this reason. I added a mantra at points to engage other parts of the brain, but doing so is not necessary, though it is true that mantra repetition and visualization are the two practices most likely to get you into powers territory, and combining them really ups the ante. Any mantra-based practice on its own is also very powers prone. The powers can also arise spontaneously from insight practice, particularly at stage 4, the rising and passing away, and sometimes at stage 11, equanimity. I have had some of my most profound tastes of the powers while doing strict vipassana, with concentration in general made strong by the momentary concentration one cultivates in vipassana. While the 4th jhana is traditionally said to be the basis for the siddhis, simply getting so strongly into the 1st jhana such that you can no longer perceive a body, coupled with the previous intention to have these experiences, can sometimes be enough to make them occur. Get really into the jhana, leave it, resolve to have these experiences and see what happens. Repeat as necessary. If that doesn't work, learn to visualize clearly the colors white, blue, red, and yellow as stable experiences. Expand them out to fill your whole field of experience, and then repeat the above instruction. If that doesn't work, find the rare, skilled fellow adventurers who will guide you into this esoteric territory. Better yet, find good, skilled friends before getting into this territory. All right, back to how to do this once you have enough concentration to get into hard 4th jhana with a range of objects and colors. The following is the traditional Theravada Buddhist Powers 101 with some practical points thrown in. Make the bases clean, meaning bathe quietly and put on clean clothes. This instruction helps but is not necessary. Find a suitable place to work, meaning a place that is quiet and free of distractions. If you can't find such a place or you feel compelled to do magic in less than optimal circumstances, obviously skip this step. Cleaning the space is also very helpful. Those who like banishings, blessings, consecrations, circles, prayers, or similar general prep work, this would be a good moment for those. Think the whole thing through before you proceed. Feel your intentions, possible outcomes, and your gut reactions to those extremely carefully. Never ever skip this step if you can possibly help it. This step not only helps to keep you from seriously screwing up, it is actually part of the spell and a very important part of the setup. Essential things to include are what you are intending or requesting, how to phrase it or intend it, being as specific as you possibly can, why you are asking for that, particularly if there is some more fundamental desire you hope to fulfill that you should focus on while letting the less important specifics happen as they may. Exactly who or what is involved. Every single possible good and bad ramification of what you are about to do that you can possibly think of, realizing that you are guaranteed not to understand anything resembling the full causal implications of what you do. Still, thinking it through very thoroughly is extremely important. Really take your time with this, visualizing the whole impulse of the magic and its implications, resonances and echoes out in time and space as far as it could possibly go. Note, if the ethics of what you are going to do feel at all strange in any part of your being, particularly your heart or gut, you probably need to start over and rethink the whole endeavor. While looking at the problem from multiple perspectives, rethink the whole endeavor while looking at the problem from multiple perspectives. Let me rephrase. If what you are intending causes any harm to anyone or anything in any way, understand well. It will be written into your experience, and without fail, you will experience the karmic results in accord with those karmic causes. Once you feel that the desired working is clean, good, ethical, and skillful, rise from the first to the fourth jhana. Build each jhana up carefully and fully along the way so that you have a good foundation from which to work. The stronger the concentration, the better. The more time you have to build up concentration momentum, the better. For example, doing strict concentration practice 16 hours a day for a week is obviously better than just rising up the light end of the jhanas in daily life during a brief sit. Those who can access the formless realms should rise all the way through them, as well as the potentiation effect that comes from the post-eighth function point is very real. Those who have the capacity to enter Nirodha Samapatti could go that high, though its afterglow is a paradox in that it is one of the most powerful platforms for magic, and yet one of the mind states that is so chill that whatever concerned you and caused you to want to do the magic is likely to be so swamped, or likely to be swamped by that same long-lived afterglow. However high you are able to rise, leave that state and formally intend to make happen whatever you want to occur, which is to release the full pulse of the energy of your intention into the world without hesitation or restraint. If you are going to do this, make sure you commit to it, which is why the third step is so important. Let it go, chill out, and see what happens. Please note that there are several interesting features of this approach that might be missed upon reading it, but are unlikely to be missed in practice. First, thinking through the whole spell and its possible implications will change your relationship to the issue, particularly if you do this formally, properly, and deliberately, and give it enough time. Second, if you really think far back down the chain to why you want something, and if there was something more basic that the initial object of desire represented for you, and then trace that back to some root need, that in and of itself is likely to do something very useful in your relationship to the object of the spell. Third, getting high up into the jhanas is also very purifying, which is their function. The natural result of being up in high jhanas, or recently up in high jhanas, is a temporary lessening of the craving, aversion, fear, anger, entanglement, anxiety, or whatever else it was that was causing you to want to do the magic in the first place. That is a great outcome most of the time. There is an old stock and standard paradigm about spiritual practice that says that the highest states make for the most powerful magic, while giving rise to the least interest in actually performing powerful magic. This has a solid basis in reality, as hopefully you will notice for yourself as a result of your own good practice. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. And chapter 66 comes next. It's called Made Pliant and Malleable. Most people generally don't get their concentration strong enough to get to the stage that is described in the old text by the standard phrase, the mind made pliant and malleable. But if they do, they will be richly rewarded. Someone practicing hard jhana all day long with few breaks except to bathe, eat, wash, use the bathroom, and sleep may, if they have talent and diligence, be able to accomplish this level of concentration in a few weeks or perhaps a few months. Success would also depend on many factors of the practitioner, practice, and setting that are hard to quantify. Talking and other interactions rapidly dissipate momentum. In the malleable phase, whatever you turn your intention towards just shows up, with the qualifier that some magical feats will be easier for some than others. You want red flowers to appear in your room? They are suddenly there, or so it seems. You want to draw runes in the air in blue flame with your finger, and that slow, thick, slightly delayed, syrupy flame just rolls off your fingers into space like you always imagined it would, and the runes hang there like something out of a fantasy movie. You want to jump out of body, off the cushion, and soon enough, off you go. And from there, anything you can imagine experiencing can be experienced. You wish to see and feel the energy channels and chakras, and suddenly they are in your body, manipulable, tunable, bright and obvious. You wish everything in your field of vision to turn green, and suddenly green is everywhere, coloring everything. You wish to create a hyper-detailed visualization of something, and it appears in the space in front of you with a level of precision you never could have imagined. You wish to hear sounds far away or see sights far away. Suddenly they show up, clear and surprising, as if you just tuned a radio. You are interested in past life experiences, and a stream of bubbles trails out into space, each containing a vast amount of information about who it seems you were in various previous existences, often with some information about how the entities apparently died. You do loving kindness practices, and you not only feel your whole world filled with that feeling, but you might even see it shining out like light to all beings. The first time I got to the level of pliant and malleable was about 12 days into a retreat on which I was using the fire kasana and mantra together. I was already a relatively strong practitioner at that point in what I think of as the middle stages of awakening, and had as my baseline solid access to the formless realms with minimal setup in daily life. My daily life practice during that time included rising from the first to the eighth jhanas at least once per day, usually just before going to sleep, and that foundation helped speed things along. On a retreat about 2 years later, I got to the pliant and malleable state again, but this time I got there based mostly on the momentary concentration of pure insight practices, perceiving everything in the whole field coming and going very strongly, second after second, minute after minute. After about 2 weeks, suddenly there it was, that amazing malleability of mind and reality that is so far beyond what is ordinarily possible. As this is not something you hear many people describing, it is hard for me to get a good sense of exactly how common or easy this may be in general, and how that general data would apply to you is anyone's guess. Regardless, the basic knowledge that such a level can be experienced at all can help people attain it. This is the stage where you can really see what the world of the cities is about, including the amazing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is a wide range of very strange and sometimes downright creepy and disturbing stuff that can happen when the powers are taken to this intensity. As stated earlier, and worth repeating here in case you didn't read the preceding section on concentration in part 1, strong concentration is a tool, and tools can be dangerous. When your concentration gets strong, guard the mind well, which means guard the speech and body as well, since wherever the mind turns, things happen and can happen fast. Thus, just as an ultra-powerful sports car driven fast is quite the party, just so one small slip of the steering wheel can end in a catastrophe. So regarding the ultra-concentrated mind, use it well, enjoy it, and carefully keep it on track. If it starts to get unstable or suddenly veers down strange, alarming, and or harmful tracks, correct it quickly and hold it on course. More specifically, if you are doing a powerful concentration retreat with or without powers, I highly recommend that you keep this paradigm firmly in mind and formally remind yourself daily to keep your thoughts and actions from harming and keep your thoughts and actions non-harming and benevolent. This is great advice on any sort of retreat at all. As the Noble Eightfold Path enumerates, there is right concentration and there is wrong concentration. Stick to the right side, please. You are the worst victim of your minds, wrongly, hurtfully, or unskillfully used in concentration. That said, rather than consciously work to this level of strong and fluent mastery, most people chance into these experiences and apparent abilities spontaneously as their concentration suddenly peaks for some brief period and a mysterious convergence of seeds and circumstances aligns to give them a brief burst of something far beyond their ordinary ability. Such glimpses often never show up again, or perhaps will do so only many years later. Some will chance into a few narrow abilities that they can access more easily with some practice, and for a lucky few, as easily as breathing. I consider myself a well-traveled tourist in the realm of the more formal and dramatic end of the cities, but a tourist nonetheless. I can have visited often, in fact, but don't live there, at least not on the exotic end of things, and am not much of a native. One exception is lucid dreaming, which I loosely lump into this category and have been doing since I was about 5 years old. Another exception is having unusual amounts of energy on tap. However, I know a rare few people who do live there much more fully. These real natives of the city territory grew up in it, just like I grew up able to lucid dream. Yet they have much more than just lucid dreaming as their baseline. Since the powers are natural for them, they are as comfortable with them as any capability that dates back to their childhood. However, for us tourists, and sometimes even for the natives, it is common to find something disturbing or distracting about the powers. For those who find the cities happening more easily in daily life, or occurring frequently in their formal meditation practice when they didn't intend to have them, they can often get them to go away just by resolving that they go away, as well as by not giving them any attention, and then they will generally fizzle out. Just as strong intent and formal or voiced resolutions can get us into the powers, just so they can be used to get us out of them, most of the time anyway. Just as a car is useful because it has a steering wheel, a gas pedal, a brake pedal, an emergency brake, and an ignition switch that can turn it on and off, just so with the powers. I personally would not drive a car that did not have all those parts functioning properly. I recommend the same with the powers. I have Dharma friends who have very strong concentration abilities and who have explored the powers, but there is good reason that many of these seasoned and mature practitioners who can go there generally will not, as tempting as it can sound. The same applies to me. When I have gotten into some of the more exotic powers, the immediate effect has been to cause me to back off immediately and contemplate for a long time before going there again, assuming I ever went back, which I often did not. For those who haven't experimented with the powers but do want to, this may seem surprising. I suspect those who are reading this who have explored the powers will be nodding knowingly here. It is not that there aren't fascinating and occasionally useful aspects to this territory, but if you play with the powers much, it is very likely you will soon see what I mean about why you might not want to go there without very solid training in Citta, Samadhi, and Pana. My more Mahayana influenced friends warn of going there without strong training in the two bodhisattvas. And that looks like the end of that chapter. This chapter, 67, is called Benefits of the Powers. Despite all the well-known downsides, as mentioned already, the powers can be used skillfully as well. There are whole traditions that use the powers as their primary path. The powers can significantly broaden our horizons and are so interesting that great depths of profoundly steady concentration can easily be developed through them. They can increase the intensity of our mental processes to such a high degree that our mental processes become very easy to see as they are, should we choose to do so. Powers can also begin to blur the line between the mental and the physical in ways that can be both disorienting and profound, highlighting the extremely useful insight that what we generally think of as mental processes are experienced purely in terms of the ordinary physical sense doors. This insight could lead a person to conclude that there are actually only 5 sense doors. Further exploration of the powers and the interconnectedness of experience can lead to the insight that there is ultimately only one sense field, out of which we extrapolate 5 and then 6 sense doors by similar qualities of pattern recognition, as well as the illusion of a continuous, stable self. When we start experimenting with intentions, extended sensate realities, and energetic phenomena, it can seem as if there are 2 worlds or fields of experience that interpenetrate. There is the ordinary one, the real world, and the magical realm, the realm of the imagination, the dream world, our second attention, the etheric or astral plane, the spirit world, divine ear, divine eye, etc. Integrating these 2 perspectives into one causal field without dualities or boundaries is quite a project, one with the potential to lead to very high levels of realization or to madness. It is the high-stakes way to play the game and is the basis of most tantric visualization practices and even some aspects of Dzogchen, integrating the sense that there are 2 different worlds into something more fundamental about the nature of experience seems to be largely unavoidable past a certain point. This integration has already been mentioned in a roundabout way as a marker of strongly established wisdom and awakening. Okay, I think we're going to stop right there.